Sorry.
I didn't finish this cookie.
Well, we're happy to eat your cookie for you.
I'm in Studio Ghibli, by the way.
That's an extraordinarily interesting background. I mean, I noticed it when I cut it on, but then I got distracted. What are you doing? Stop that.
I put into the Zoom AI, so you can make a Zoom AI background, and I requested a Studio Ghibli factory tour, and it gave me this, and this looks quite. It is reminiscent, at least, of.
It doesn't look bad.
The Ghibli Museum.
What day of the week is it?
Hump Day.
Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right. So, wait. I'll tell you what the clips are that I have coming, so you'll at least know. Wait, there's an easier way to do this, I'm sure. Yeah. So I've got. We'll quickly gloss over. That's probably not the best choice of terms there. Arnold Palmer's dick.
If you can't see from home, even though we haven't officially started recording, my eyebrows are moving up and down. It might look fake, but it's not.
Also, the model coming forward, accusing Donald Trump of groping her after Epstein brought her to Trump Tower. Trump's short stint at McDonald's. Tim Pool quitting podcasting to focus on a family, and then saying
that he doesn't have.
Yeah, that was
right.
Exactly. Yeah. Tim Walz roasting Elon, Trump calling the troops suckers and losers. Also
again, or that just came up again?
I think it came up again.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because Kelly's on a recording.
There's been a lot of like Kelly, like that's been everywhere now.
Speaking of that, he also called Trump a fascist. Obviously, we'll get to that, and saying that he likes Hitler. And one of Hitler's generals. Trump was making fun of Elon's rockets, which is, I just want to point out how, like Elon spending all this money to help Trump try and win an election, and Trump is shitting on him. I found that hilarious.
And he's like, "Don't buy an EV," and Elon's rockets are shit.
Yeah, he's like, you hear an explosion. It's just like Elon's rockets. It's so funny. And then
when was this? Recently?
This was today.
Always bite the hand that feeds you, I guess.
For sure. And then Trump said that Biden's comments about locking him up were illegal. And then I also have a video to play immediately following that where Trump is saying he wants to lock up Hillary Clinton and the Bidens. And then there's a couple of other things. I mean, look, obviously, there's no way we can cover everything that happens in a week. I mean, I made that video. It's like an hour and 15 minutes long almost. And it like, there's no fluff. And I couldn't cover everything that happened in a month, or otherwise it'd have been like 4 times as long. But we also got these stories about the Justice Department sending that letter to Elon Musk super PAC about the $1 million giveaway potentially being illegal, and they cut it out. Apparently that was sent on Monday, so DOJ didn't waste any time there for everyone who was asking, where's Merrick Garland?
No, they didn't ask. They said, like, Merrick Garland is not posting about it on Twitter, so therefore he must be doing nothing.
I try to explain that regularly. Like, the Department of Justice typically doesn't do things out in the open until it's ready to file charges. And they investigate quite a few things behind the scenes. But like, to even send this letter it's a pretty overt. I mean, I guess it wasn't like public, so I'm assuming someone from the PAC made that public. So Chris Lasavidas thought that his tweets show that he thought that Donald Trump was responsible for the attack on the Capitol on January 6th. I mean, I don't know if we'll ever get to that. NPR did an investigation where they found that since 2022, Trump threatened to prosecute, investigate, arrest, or punish his enemies more than 100 times, including attacks on fellow Americans, and that he called the enemy from within. I don't know if we'll get to that. Rudy Giuliani having to give up his apartment and a bunch of shit to Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman.
I love that for him. his condo, his apartment, his classic Benz, all of his Trump watches. And
yeah, I had a pretty good one on Twitter when I was
Are they really getting the like the apartment and not the sale price of the apartment?
No, I think they're getting the physical condo. Yeah.
Are they a couple?
I don't know. They're
gonna do with the shit. I mean, they're gonna have to. Okay, cool.
Anyway.
I mean, I still love that. It's pretty funny that like it's not even like you are forced into liquidation to sell your items to compensate. They're like, no, I want his apartment. I want him to get out of it. Right. I want him to leave his apartment and be forced to sell all of his things.
There's also that election or Arizona County election official who pled guilty to refusing to certify the 2020 midterms. And the GOP dude that's getting a year and a half in prison for sending Russian donations to the Trump campaign in 2016. I mean, like, there's endless stories. I don't know how much of that we'll get to, but try and do what we can. Hey, this is D Night.
This is Carol.
This is Ty.
And both of her boobs.
And you're listening to the Pardon the Insurrection podcast. Carol beat me to the joke. If you're watching us on YouTube, Ty made it a point.
I'm the only person who's ever made that joke.
Ty made it a point to aim her camera down slightly to include her chest in the shot because apparently she's feeling extraordinary boobalicious. Also,
she's looking at it as well.
Yeah, and you're listening to the Pardon the Insurrection podcast, where boobs aside, we're not obsessed with the size of Arnold Palmer's dick. So, of course, like every single week in the political landscape is an absolute shit show, dumpster fire, explosion, like Elon's car or his rockets. I'm at this point.
Can he like be in one of those cars or rockets at any time? I'll allow that.
Has he considered making a submarine?
It's extraordinarily.
Why hasn't he gotten into submersibles?
It's funny you say that because I don't always see him drive his own brand of car. But of course, so somehow if you missed it and you follow the podcast, I uploaded a video to YouTube, also to the audio podcast. It's a little bit over an hour long. Every single Trump scandal from the past month. If you had the opportunity to check that out, kudos to you. If not, you should do that. I would imagine that a lot of you, if you're listening to this, you're probably extraordinarily well read or familiar with most of Trump's scandals. So a lot of it likely won't be a surprise to you in terms of like, well, you'll have been aware of it happening. But what I do suspect is you've never seen anything like this where every single thing is just laid out back to back nonstop. It was shocking when I was recording it because I was like, actually, I remember all of this and it's absolutely fucking insane that this is just the month. Yeah, single month of scandals over an hour long, and obviously I couldn't include everything or it would have been like 10 hours long. That's the level of absurdity we're dealing with. And of course, like as I spend my entire weekend editing this fucking video, as soon as it drops, Trump's like, hold my beer. I also love Hitler's generals. I grab Epstein's girlfriend by the tits,
genitals, and
no, that was in there.
Generals.
Or
both the genitals.
Hold that thought. Trump was like, hold my beer. I love Hitler's generals. I also grabbed Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend by the boobs. And by the way, perhaps there might be a tape of me floating around out there molesting one of my donors' underage kids. So that was, yeah. So
he said, he said those, what?
Well, he didn't. No, this is figuratively speaking when he said, hold my beer. After all the work I put into that super long video. So
wait a minute, he doesn't drink beer. Okay, go on.
Figuratively speaking. So in case you missed it,
I figured that out eventually.
In case you missed it, there's word floating around the rumor mill that there's a video of a Trump at a campaign event involving numerous donors, where apparently he groped or fondled one of the donor's children. The donor seemed to be, this is allegedly, extraordinarily upset about this incident. and might be shopping this video around, perhaps, or maybe someone who's involved with the campaign or was present at the event, potentially shopping this video around. Now, of note, I would say that it appears as though this person is attempting to shop this video around to right-wing broadcasts, which suggests that this person isn't necessarily looking for a legitimate news outlet to present the information, but could possibly
trying to get paid to make the story disappear. They want to be the next story Stormy Daniels.
Seems like that could be a possibility. So yes, but
maybe
again,
minus the disappointing sex.
Well, you never know. We don't know.
Maybe
we don't know what's on the video. So I keep a lookout for that. Again, this is rumor mill shit. Nothing's confirmed, but there's a lot of noise behind the scenes, and also a bunch of right wingers on the internet are super spooked. So anything's possible. So obviously, it's been a hell of a couple weeks here. Apart from Trump just wandering around stage doing his DJ act at the campaign rally, and then presumably being obsessed with the size of Arnold Palmer. You know what? We might as well just play a clip of Trump being obsessed with the size of Arnold Palmer's dick, because for God's sake, I just like I just stand this guy. I just don't.
No words. Just play the clip. Roll the tape. Roll the tape.
But Arnold Palmer was all man, and I say that in all due respect to women, and I love women. But this is a guy that was all man. This man was strong and tough, and I refuse to say it, but when he took showers with the other pros, they came out of there, they said, oh my God. That's unbelievable. I had to say it.
Hey guys, is it gay?
Couldn't say it. I had to say it. Ashley Babbitt was killed. Nobody was killed.
All man. Man.
Is it gay to say that you're wondering, like, to talk about a man taking showers with other men who are talking about the size of his dick? Does that make you gay?
It's gay adjacent. I won't say it's gay.
Not
it's gay. It's gay adjacent.
It's gay, it's not that we shame people for their sexual proclivities, but
I mean, I guess I was gonna say I don't know, but I don't sit around thinking about like what other women's vaginas and vulvas look like, and then
what kind of life are you living, Carol? If you're not doing that,
but what if she has a huge clitoris?
What?
What if she has a huge clit? Then would you possibly obsess over the idea of what it like?
I guess, but I wouldn't be like, I don't know. There's nothing on the outside of women's genitals that make other women jealous.
What if there were reports? What if there were reports of, I don't know, a famous politician?
Maybe just the boobs. We just have to have boobs as the analog for women.
Yeah, well, Todd's got that covered for you. So
yeah, if we're gonna talk about nude jealousy, it's gonna be the boobs.
Yeah, that's just extraordinarily weird shit. I don't know what's going on with this dude. Again, once upon a time we canceled.
But the overall point was that it does lead to being maybe gay, because I have not thought those things about men. I mean,
yeah, I don't sit around thinking about other dudes' dicks. I'm sorry, but yes, once upon a time we canceled Howard Dean's political career for going y'all. Right, think how far we've come from those days, where a simple, expression.
I don't remember having an issue with him.
Excitement. No, but I mean, maybe not you personally, but I'm just saying, generally speaking, the public was like, no, we can't do this. This guy's got to go.
This dude is crazy. We can't get behind him.
We've gone from that to Arnold Palmer's dick.
They're eating the cats.
Arnold Palmer.
And Arnold Palmer has a big dick.
Yeah. Now, I personally, generally speaking, when I think of Arnold Palmer, generally speaking, we'll get to generals in just a second.
I see what you did there, Carol. I like it.
When I think of Arnold Palmer, I don't even think of golf. I live in the South. I consume quite often my sweet tea with lemonade. So that is generally how I think of Arnold Palmer in any shape, form, or fashion.
It's supposed to be with sweet tea. That's too sweet. We have it up here with unsweetened tea.
It doesn't matter. Whatever floats your boat.
Does matter.
Some
Okay, no,
combination of tea and lemonade, half and half in that regard.
Got it.
Yeah, but also speaking of, well,
sorry, hard-hitting political journalism here on my part. Last year, he claimed his iced tea was unsweetened. This year, he says it's sweetened.
Speaking of sweet teas, we have Tim Walls here totally roasting Elon Musk in hilarious fashion.
Oh, I haven't seen this. I can't wait to see this.
I love this guy. My favorite of the Tims.
And that's not a joke. But look, I'm not going to waste all the time I'm in. I'm going to talk about his running mate. His running mate, Elon Musk. Seriously. Where is Senator Vance after he got asked the simplest question in the world at the debate? Did Donald Trump lose the 2020 election? And after 2 weeks, he finally said, no, he didn't. That's where he's been spending his time. But that's it. So, look, Elon's on that stage, jumping around, skipping like a dipshit on these things. You know it.
Skipping like a dipshit.
So I bet the network apologized for his swear word, but they're like totally fine sane washing fascism and
well, they're totally fine with Trump saying Kamala Harris is a shit vice president. Okay.
Yeah. So Tim was extraordinarily accurate in pointing out a couple of things there, just apart from Elon Musk being a dipshit. But jumping around on stage like a moron, we've actually discovered the reason why Elon's been doing that. If you're curious, if you thought he was simply insane, you weren't far off. But the reason
wanted to show you his pasty midriff.
Well, part of the reason why he's specifically been jumping around like this, with his legs out and his arms out, is because it makes the figure X.
It makes the what? I don't know. I heard
it makes the letter X.
The letter. He's doing a figure X.
Sorry, I heard that.
You know how like Trump loves YMC, and then you do the thing. Elon is just making an X because, well, obviously he's obsessed with the letter. He renamed Twitter to X, tanking billions of dollars of its brand value in doing so, and also
he's rolling all day. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, it's ketamine, not X. My bad.
I'm sure there's probably some ecstasy involved, allegedly, so we don't get sued. Yeah, but also just pointing out the fact clearly that Elon Musk is now actually Donald Trump's running mate, and he's replaced JD Vance is fucking hilarious. So one of the things that's been going on here with Elon Musk recently is that his PAC announced some kind of lottery in Pennsylvania where he would be awarding individuals who signed up to support his whatever the fuck, proclaiming their support for the First and Second Amendment. But part of
the PAC that sends you targeted ads.
Well, yes, that PAC as well. So part of the requirements to qualify for the sweepstakes is that you must be a registered voter, which apparently seems like some kind of attempt to actually buy votes. Also, in these states, Pennsylvania specifically, I think it's illegal for any kind of lottery that's not specifically authorized by the state. So he's likely breaking federal and state law. And just in case you were wondering where Merrick Garland was, apparently the Department of Justice sent the PAC a letter on Monday, not just a couple days after the announcement of this seeming election scam.
Yes, and for some strange reason, they didn't tell everyone their plan on Twitter.
Yeah, well, DOJ was like, hey, man, cease and desist. It's entirely possible you could be breaking the law. And I'm absolutely sure the feds are likely investigating that. And again, if it is some kind of campaign violation or potential gambling.
Okay. I have a question. I want to know where Elon is getting this amount of money from. Though, yes, he is the richest man in the world, but all of his net worth, all of his monies are tied to Tesla stock. He is cash poor. So where is he getting the cash to throw into Trump's PAC that he put into his little scheme with Harris?
I'm pretty sure
Contradicting positions. Like, where is he getting this $100 million, this $45 million a month? That is something that I think needs to be actually looked
his
at.
net worth over $200 billion. He can sell, $500 million of Tesla stock without making too much of a ripple.
But he sold so much in his acquisition of Twitter.
He did.
So he is like,
but another $500 million is probably not going to make a huge difference in terms of like the stock evaluation. So I would assume it likely came from the stock. And again, don't forget, like the PAC also, like while he's the largest contributor, he's not the only contributor. So not 100% of the funds are coming directly from him. But it was just extraordinarily funny that not only is Tim Walz destroying Elon Musk, but so was his running mate, Donald Trump. Like, you can't imagine Elon Musk spending all this money trying to help Trump win, and then Trump turning around and shitting on him. But
fuck your car.
Well, it's funny because none of them recognize that like he has no loyalty to anyone, no matter how many times it happens.
Well, we'll show you that he has absolutely no loyalty right here.
And look what happened after I left. There was an explosion, like one of Elon's rocket ships. Look at that.
Was that guy holding binoculars or was he saluting? Like,
or the guy in the car, I don't know. But it's extraordinarily funny that literally everyone running for office is shitting on Elon Musk, including the guy Elon Musk is attempting to spin.
And woke liberals who buy EVs.
Yeah.
Which is the anti-Trump base. So that's
fair enough. But yeah, if you've noticed here, Tesla stock is tanking actually because Democrats are refusing to buy Teslas now because of Elon Musk. They're going out and purchasing different brands of electric cars now. So kudos to that guy. Way to tank your business in order to be a fucking Republican nut job. I mean, of course, I'm assuming that what Elon is hoping is that if Trump wins, that Trump will just grant him unlimited government funds in terms of
and give him a
grants
pardon.
Well, that too. So if you're unaware, Elon Musk and almost all of his various companies are under some kind of federal investigation, whether it be the Department of Justice all the way down to OSHA. So it's entirely possible that like his fortune depends on Trump winning, and just to keep him out of jail and just to stop all these investigations into all of his companies. But fingers crossed Trump loses, and like Elon Musk said recently here on the Tucker Carlson interview, he's fucked. So yesterday, of course, there was an extraordinarily harrowing set of news stories that broke concerning General Kelly and comments that he made about Trump during his time in the Trump White House. Recordings were made public yesterday evening, and we'll play some of those for you here, where, his former chief of staff, John Kelly, is calling Trump a fascist.
Certainly, the former president is in the far right area. He's certainly an authoritarian, admires people who are dictators. He has said that. So he certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, for sure.
Yeah, understatement, bro. He's already tried to overthrow the government once, and he's calling Americans the enemy of the people, and he's threatening to use the military against American citizens. And there was that one time he tried to have, it wasn't
his buddy, his best, very good friend, murdered.
Yeah, that too. But there was also that time he tried to order the National Guard to shoot protesters during the George Floyd protests in the knee, and they were like, "Actually, bro, we not about to do that. We'll resign."
And
Yeah,
don't forget, he also wanted to like put alligators in the Rio Grande.
yeah, that was
up
crazy. I was like,
alligators.
well, he's been watching too much TV. But I mean, look, we've never been in a situation where so many members of a former president's cabinet who's running for real. I mean, obviously, we're barely in that situation anyway. But where members of a former president's cabinet are coming out on the record to speak out about what a danger he is to the nation. We've never seen anything like this, and the media is kind of like, yeah. It's a cool story. It's a cool story for a day, but no big deal. I mean, it's not like he's, it's not like Biden being old or anything. Like, let us
It's not
know.
like Biden sleeping on the beach. I mean,
Yeah, let us know when one of these stories gets to that level. Perhaps like, I don't know, General Kelly speaking here about Trump calling our soldiers suckers and losers.
He basically said to you that those who died for America on the battlefield were losers and suckers, and he said it more than once.
Yes, but he would but he would say it would always that something else would get him going. Oftentimes again, McCain, but he never could wrap his arms around why people would serve the country in uniform. What was in it for them? That was the general theme.
Yeah. So
What is in it for them? Yes. The man who is supposed to be the premier public servant in our country cannot understand
the
concept of
chief.
serving the country, just doing any service.
Yeah, so speaking of Trump's lack of respect for American servicemen and women, there was also this story where after the death of a American soldier, Trump told the family that he was going to pay
Vanessa
them.
Guillen.
Yeah, but like I fuck her sister. I'll get to that in just a moment. Where he said, so I think the funeral expenses were going to amount to something like $60,000, and the army was willing to cover some of it, but not the entirety of it. Trump proposed that he was going to pay for it, obviously to win some kind of brownie points. And then when he got the bill, he said, "I'm not paying that shit." Basically, I think his exact words were, "It doesn't cost $60,000 to bury a fucking Mexican," and he turned to Mark Meadows and said, and told him, he told Mark Meadows specifically not to pay it. Just absolutely wild behavior, man. And then like the sister is on Twitter defending Trump. I don't understand why. Like, I wouldn't defend anyone, let alone vote for someone who referred to my sister who died in the line of duty as a quote unquote fucking Mexican. Yeah, it's just absolutely wild behavior.
It's gross.
Sometimes I think I'll take my chances with the racism. Sorry, that's an inside thing from the video I saw earlier today.
Yeah,
we were discussing it, but our audience wasn't.
Okay, but I won't take my chances with the pogrom, which is what you're going to get, motherfucker.
Well, feel free to explain the video that you were watching.
Yeah, so I was watching a video of voices along Pennsylvania. I'm sorry, I don't know the name of the big highway that goes east to west through Pennsylvania, but it was like talking to voters there, and it was like 3/4 Trump voters, and one of them was like a Latino kitchen worker, and he was saying, the economy is probably better with Trump, but a lot of guys in the immigrant and minority communities are afraid of the racism being worse like it was under Trump, and like police bothering you and all this stuff. But then, like, I don't know, I think it'll be better. I'll take my chances with the racism. And I was like, holy shit, where do they, like, is this real people, or are they finding like the dumbest people who will talk to them?
So I'm going to go with the latter, Carol. They're finding the dumbest fucking people, because that is
Take your chances.
Yeah, if you'll notice, outlets like CNN and the Washington Post or the New York, well, I don't know about the Washington Post, but the New York Times, they'll go out of their way to find like the 1 in 40,000 black people that are out here supporting Trump, and then they'll platform
like they always
that.
look for the black guy with one tooth who's been smoking crack the last 34 years and ask him a question. And then they're like, oh, black voters said this. Like that's what they do.
So statistically speaking, 95% of black women, as per the usual, are supporting Kamala Harris in the 2024 election. And at the very least, 85% of black men are in terms of polling are supporting Kamala Harris. But again, like it's difficult to tell exactly because some of the way the poll's done, the sample size, especially when it get like, are you playing with your boobs as well, Carol? So some of the way polling, some of the ways that polling is done in terms of black voters it's just the sample sizes are too small to be predictive in terms of what election results would be. But if it's anything like 2016, you're probably going to see the Democratic presidential candidate, in this case, Kamala Harris, get somewhere around 90% of the black vote. So going out of your way to find the handful of weirdos who are out here like, I worry about the racism, but Trump is good on the economy, even though like
I don't remember if he was black or Latino, but
even weirder, just the fact that like, first of all, Trump didn't do anything great for the economy. He just took over Obama's economy and then burned it to the ground. People forget that last part. And then, like again, if you're a Latino voter, you're addressing the possibility of voting for Trump in terms of he's going to vote the other Latino, not me. And like I feel like that's an extraordinarily dangerous game to play. Like, why would you even want to take the gamble of the guy who's saying he's going to invoke the Alien Enemies Act and use the military to round up quote unquote immigrants, even though specifically generally speaking, he's talking about, black people, brown people, Muslims, and Jews. And he's not making any distinction to whether or not it matters if they're here. Like, why would you want to take that gamble, especially with a guy who proclaims to, you'll never guess, love Hitler?
We're just one rally away from Trump endorsing 1619. So like he keeps going back a decade. He was talking about the terrorists in 1890. Then he goes back to 1798. Yeah, 1619 is it's approaching.
Well, let's hear from John Kelly, former chief of staff for Donald Trump, on his praise of Hitler, who apparently has done some good things.
He commented more than once that, that Hitler did some good things too. And of course, if you know history, again, I think he's lacking in that. But if you know what Hitler was all about, it'd be pretty hard to make an argument that he did anything good.
So what would you say when he said to you that Hitler did a lot of good things?
Well, I tell him that. I said, first of all, you should never say that. But if you knew what Hitler was all about from the beginning to the end, everything he did was in support of his racist, fascist life, philosophy, so that nothing he did you could argue was good. It was certainly not done for the right reason. And but he would occasionally say that.
What would he say when you would lay that out to him?
He just, that'd be the end of the conversation usually.
I mean, how many times?
Did it happen multiple times? Really?
How many times could you possibly be praising Hitler? Now, I would like to say on the record that the only good thing Hitler has ever done is kill Hitler.
Let's kill himself.
Yeah. No, he killed Hitler. YouTube.
What?
Anyway, so you can't talk about ixnaying your elf say on YouTube yet. Well, yeah, whatever. Hitler did a fantastic job of killing Hitler. That's the best thing he had ever done in his life. Apart from that, everything else Hitler did was a fucking travesty and monstrosity. And I would assume that the guy talking about using the military to round up the migrants, who's also claiming to support Hitler, at least privately, probably shouldn't be the president of the United States. I feel pretty comfortable saying that. I don't feel like that's out of line. I don't feel like I'm being unreasonable in that regard.
That is not a reckless speculation.
No,
it is not.
I feel like that's a pretty normal conclusion to come to. Now, I would imagine if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, that's extraordinarily weird. Trump goes from talking about Arnold Palmer's dick to us getting reports of him praising Hitler and saying that he wishes he had generals like Hitler, but also he's groping Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend, which, I mean, we'll play video of that for you in a moment. But also he's working a brief stint at McDonald's. Seems extraordinarily weird that someone this stupid could be that dangerous, but I mean, obviously Trump is just a bag of surprises here.
Either way, will you accept the results of the election?
Yeah, sure. If it's a fair election, always. I would always accept it if it's got to be a fair election. We're leading in all the polls now. We're leading in every swing state, and we're doing well. And it's no, I don't think so.
So that
It pisses me off that people keep asking him if he plans to accept the results. I hate
Carol,
it.
you saying that, Carol, is exactly how I feel.
It's so frustrating.
Why do we have to
asking him
pander
that
to this
fucking question?
Why are we even giving air to that idea? Like, and it was the same thing last time. Like, why are you making it
Will you accept the
normalizing
results?
the idea that you can just contest the results? Like when you,
But yeah, no, exactly, Carol, exactly. Every time I hear someone, if he's doing an interview, it's like, will you accept the results? And I'm like, it's cringe. I tense up. I'm like, stop asking him that fucking question. We already
he
know
won't.
he's
Yeah,
not.
it's extraordinarily frustrating, like you said. Not just because, like, obviously, if you have to ask a candidate that question, they're not qualified to hold the office. But also,
If you have to ask them that question, you already know the fucking answer.
well, that's apparent as well. But also, we saw that he didn't accept the results of the last fucking election. He tried to overthrow the government. Why are we pretending like that never happened? Why is that a thing? Now, again, media extraordinarily annoying. I get it. Like, it just, they refuse to treat this, like, they refuse to hold Trump to have the standard that they hold Kamala Harris to. And I'm sure, like, if you're a reasonable person, you find this frustrating as well. I don't understand. But that is to say that in the middle of a staged campaign event where Trump shut down his friend's McDonald's in order to pretend like he worked there, in order to somehow discredit Kamala Harris's story of working at a
And gave
McDonald's.
everybody high blood pressure. Which
In a
did you
youth-
know,
as a
Dee,
youth
that
40 years
due to
ago.
we're all talking at the same time. Due to the law of logical tricks, two presidents cannot both have worked at McDonald's at the same time.
I didn't know that was was that like a law of physics or something? But yeah, so apparently, first of all,
The logical tricks.
kudos
Traps.
to logical trend. So kudos to Kamala Harris for shaking Trump up so badly by saying that she worked at a McDonald's 40 years ago, that he felt obligated to try and stage a stunt where he pretended to show up at a McDonald's and work.
I dropped out of a presidential race 40 years ago.
Yeah, I wish I could trick him that way, but no. As someone who worked in McDonald's, 20 something years ago, I can tell you, in all likelihood, like the people who are like, well, she's making up, she can't prove that she's working at McDonald's. So I worked in a McDonald's 20 something years ago. Two things: one, it was a franchise; it wasn't owned by the corporation. It was a privately owned company, and then two, it no longer exists. So it'd be extraordinarily difficult for me to find a way to prove to you that I worked at McDonald's 20 something years ago. So imagine 40 years ago.
Not to mention then you got paper checks. There was no direct deposit.
No direct
And you
deposit.
filled out a paper application to like get your fucking job.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone was going through the old McDonald's
No. So
personnel files and scanning them, especially a lot of states have rules on how long you can keep personnel files.
So the fact that Trump showed up to this weird thing just to try and show up Kamala Harris, I mean, it just backfired spectacularly.
That just
He looked
shows
like a
the
fucking weirdo.
fucking pettiness.
Yeah, super petty.
And the unseriousness of him. That he
Now-
was triggered that she spent a summer working at McDonald's 40 years ago. And he has harped on that like nonstop.
Now, here's the thing.
Every chance he can get.
What I wanted to point out specifically, the thing you did there where you're like, look how unserious he is. Now, part of the issue with Trump is that he's extraordinarily dangerous. But because he's so fucking ridiculous, many people out there, voters included, look at the stuff that's extraordinarily dangerous and say, oh, but he doesn't mean it. Because they see all the things that he does that are so ridiculous. And what I would say is that, in fact, if you give a stupid, ridiculous person power, they're likely to be more dangerous than someone who's actually intelligent enough to know when to tone it down. So, yeah, I mean, again, Trump's a moron. He's doing all this weird shit. He's staging, this fake thing at McDonald's. He promised to pay for all of the food that was served while he was there. He skipped out on that bill as well. So it's just a pattern of behavior with him. And then, of course, there was an E. coli outbreak from a series of McDonald's immediately after the fact that hospitalized about 50 people and killed one. So, if you're sick and throwing up and potentially dying from consuming McDonald's, just remember Trump was probably responsible for that. Now, on to just an absolutely insane, yet another insane breaking story because it never stops. Again, as we mentioned previously, apparently Trump sexually assaulted Jeffrey Epstein's former girlfriend and a woman who was also a model in the 90s. And we have a clip of that for you right here.
When Jeffrey looked at me and said, let's go stop by and see Trump. And so we went to Trump Tower and went up the elevator, and moments later, Trump was greeting us, and he pulled me into him and started groping me. He put his hands all over my breasts, my waist, my butt, and I froze. And I froze because I was so deeply.
So that woman, Stacey Williams, former model who met Jeffrey Epstein, they began dating for a few months there in the 90s, and I believe sometime in 1993, she was invited over to Trump Tower by Jeffrey Epstein to meet Donald Trump, and immediately upon entering the room,
just start kissing him right away. I'm attracted to beautiful. I just can't help it. I can't help myself. I just start kissing. You can do anything. They just let you do it.
They just let you do it. So again, you can take this story however you want. I would assume the woman probably has no reason to lie about the fact that this incident happened, and then she does have evidence to support the fact that not only was she dating Jeffrey Epstein at one point in time, but that she was familiar with Donald Trump, and she has a handwritten card from Donald Trump with the Palm Beach picture on the front and on the back.
There's probably thousands of stories like this.
Well,
I'm not even exaggerating. I have a friend.
Well, can I finish
who told me a
explaining?
very similar story. Sorry.
Well, yeah, I was just sharing the evidence. So on the back of this postcard in classic Trump fashion, written in magic marker, it says, your home away from home, love, Donald. So, she's got pretty convincing evidence that corroborates that she was familiar, or at least Donald Trump was familiar with her at the time to allegedly substantiate her allegations. But yeah, like you were saying, it's possibly thousands of instances of weird, creepy
And I'm
ass
saying
shit
I
from Donald Trump.
personally know someone who told me a similar story about him.
Yeah. Very Trump-like behavior. Probably
Like about
one.
her.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Yeah, send her my regards.
I mean, yeah, she's fine, but like,
No, yeah, I mean, I'm sure she is, but also
she was like working as a cocktail waitress or as, yeah.
Yeah, who wants some creepy old weird dude groping them upon first sight just because she's okay doesn't mean it's acceptable. But yeah, normally this would be like this type of story would totally destroy a presidential candidate, dropping 2 weeks before a presidential election. We'll see, because obviously the media is going to move on to something entirely different tomorrow with no
Even if all
consequences to
Trump
thousands
eats
of them came
spaghetti.
out.
That's probably going to be the headline tomorrow.
Like Kamala
That all
Harris wasn't.
thousands of them could come out and they would just say this is a witch hunt.
Kamala Harris wasn't entirely convincing at her CNN town hall, but also Trump is out here
Trump
sexually
served
harassing
fries. This is why this is bad for Kamala's campaign.
Yeah,
Like,
now I'm assuming if by some chance we do actually get this video of Trump potentially sexually molesting or physically assaulting or groping one of his donors' underage kids, that might actually likely make a dent in Trump's chances of possibly winning.
Do you know what, D? I'm going to have to disagree with you. I don't think it will. They don't give a fuck.
Well, it's not going to dethrone Trump at the top of the Republican Party, but in terms of what it might do for the electorate, it might ensure Trump lost by a point or two in a way that nothing else has seemed to do so far, including being convicted of 34 felony counts of fraud and just being found liable for sexual assault in court, like things that just barely move the needle. Maybe seeing the actual video of Epstein's best friend, Donald Trump, sexually assaulting a minor might do it for it. But what I would say is, given that we're less than 2 weeks from an election now, if you haven't had the opportunity to early vote and your state allows, I would suggest you go do that. If not, I expect to see you out there on election day doing your part to save our democracy. Yes. Otherwise, if you don't, we're going to have the guy who was telling you how much he loves Hitler and how many good things Hitler has done, bringing back the Fourth Reich. And I got to tell you, me personally and my fellow Jewish companion here on the screen, Ty, you as well, I'm assuming neither of us want to live in a fucking concentration camp. And if you don't
look, I'm past my prime. I don't want to be sucking dick for potatoes. So 20 years ago, maybe. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, no.
Vote for Kamala Harris if you don't want your favorite podcast host to end up at a concentration camp. And that concludes this episode of Part of the Insurrection.